That's good to hang on to.
Can I have it? Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the story of the soldier and death. Now, this soldier's name was Jack. And as he was walking along the road, coming back from a war, he had on his civvy clothes and he had 3 biscuits because the army didn't have enough back pay to give him. And then he saw a beggar. And the beggar said, "Do you have any food you can spare?" And Jack thought about his 3 biscuits, which were supposed to last him until he got home. And he looked at the beggar and he thought, well, I can spare 1 biscuit. So he gave it to the beggar. And the beggar ate it and was pleased. And he said, "You're a generous man. And because you're a generous man, I have this sack for you. It's a burlap sack. But don't be fooled. It's an excellent burlap sack. It's a magical burlap sack. You can take this sack and you can say to anything, 'Here is my sack. Get in it.' And whatever it is will. And it will expand to suit them." And Jack thought this was a marvelous thing. He said, "I've seen this. This is Mary Poppins' carpet bag. I will never have to have a moving van again. I'll just order the furniture to get in the bag." And the beggar said, "This is not Mary Poppins' carpet bag. That's a different magic entirely. This is a different thing. Take it and enjoy it." And Jack said, "Thank you very much." And he went on down the road and he was very pleased. And then he came on the second beggar. And the second beggar sat there just like the last one. And he also wanted food. And Jack thought about his 2 biscuits, which were to last him till he got home. But he said, "Oh, I can spare 1." And he gave it to the beggar. And the beggar ate it and he was pleased. He said, "For your generosity, I will give you this coin purse. It's small and it's plain, but when you want money, you can open the coin purse and it will always provide for you." And Jack thought, well, that's wonderful, but if he had this magical coin purse, why didn't he use it to buy himself some food? But I won't complain. "Thank you for the coin purse." And he went on, and then he met the 3rd beggar. Now the 3rd beggar also wanted food, and Jack thought about his 3rd biscuit very hard, but he was a generous man. If he didn't give to this beggar, the beggar would talk to the other beggars down the road, and he'd know that he had spared him a biscuit. So he took out his last biscuit, and he gave it to the beggar. And the beggar ate it, and he also looked very pleased, and he said, "You're a very generous man, Jack. I don't have much to give you, but I do have this deck of cards. You like to gamble, don't you?" And Jack said, "Oh, I love to gamble." "That's wonderful. This is better than Vegas. Take these cards. These cards are magical. With these cards, you will win every game of cards that you ever sit down to." And Jack, of course, thought this was wonderful. So he said, "Thank you very much." He took the cards, went off down the road, came to the inn. Now, he could have paid for the inn with his magical coin purse, but why would he? Because outside the inn is a huge flock of geese. So Jack was a scientific man. He said, "You're going to go test these things out. Get in my sack." In comes the entire flock of geese. They get in his sack. The sack expands to fit it. Jack slings the sack over his back and he goes into the inn. He tells the innkeeper, "I want room for the night. I also want a nice meal of goose, and how lucky for you, because I have an entire flock of geese in my sack. I'll give them all to you if you give me room and a meal." And the innkeeper was a fair man. He thought that was a wonderful idea, so Jack had a very good meal and a good night's sleep, and he got up the next morning and he's talking to the innkeeper. And the innkeeper says, "We have terrible renters here. No one wants to stay in our houses in this town. No one wants to stay in town at all." And Jack said, "Why is that? Do you have terrible landlords?" And they said, "No, we don't have terrible landlords. What we have is terrible devils. They invade the house nearby. They scorch all the furniture. They drive the property values down. No one wants to have neighbors that are devils because they do horrible things and they play loud music and horrible things happen when they're around. Whatever you do, don't go by the haunted house down the street." So, of course, Jack hears, "Go by the haunted house down the street." So he does. He gets up right early and he goes down. And he waits on these devils. And he waits so long and gets bored. And then at 10 o'clock at night, up come the devils. And they say, "Jack, we're very surprised to see you here. We understand that you're here to see us, but you must understand that a tribe of men come by monthly to shoo us out. The sheriff comes by to evict us. No one can evict us. They always wind up dead in the morning. Terribly sorry to tell you that." And Jack said, "Oh, I just came to gamble. I have this deck of cards." And the devil said, well, we cheat. And Jack said, good, because I do too. And he started dealing the cards. So they played until midnight. And at midnight, the devil said, we're sorry, we have to go. We can't be late. You can't be late back to hell. It's a bad thing. So they started to go, and Jack said, no, I'm terribly sorry, you can't. Here's my sack, get in it. And all the devils went in his sack, except for the last one, because Jack had caught him by the end of his leg. And he slung the devils in the sack over one shoulder, and he took the devil that he had by the leg, and he drug him outside of the house. And he said, now over there in the yard is an apple tree. Now, the last apples of the season are harvested by devils on Halloween night, because it's their right to clean them. And so the devil really wanted this apple. And Jack said, all right, you can have it, but I'm going to hang on to your leg while you get it. And so he hung on to the devil's leg while he was getting the apple. And just at the point he seized on it, Jack took out his pocket knife and made a binding symbol on the tree. And he said, now you're bound to me, and when I call you, you have to come. And of course, this made the devil very angry, because who wants to do that? But he yelled and he swore, but he couldn't do anything because it was a magical contract kind of thing. So he said, all right, I'll come when you call me. Let me go. And Jack said, all right. And he let him go. And then he took the other sack of devils that he had, put them back on his back, took them down to the car mechanic, said, there's devils in this sack. Can you just knock them around a bit with your sledgehammer and then let them go? The car mechanic said, certainly I can, and he did. And the devil said, let us go, we won't bother you again, we'll go straight down to hell. And Jack said, that's good, that's the way I like it, and he went on. Now, he wandered around town long enough to learn about the king. The king had this daughter, and she was sick. She was so sick she was going to die. And the king, he was going to pay whoever cured her. And they were going to get a good bit of his land, and they were going to get the daughter too. It was a marriage thing because wife stealing was out of fashion. And so Jack decided he'd try for this. He wasn't quite sure how to cure her, but he'd find out. So he went up to talk to the king, and the king didn't want to let a shabby ex-soldier into his house, but what could he do? He had this deal about, it was advertised all through town. So he let Jack in. And Jack came in and he looked at the daughter, and he did a little physics time warp thing, called the devil, but no one could see the devil. And he said, I want to know how to cure anybody of any disease they've ever had. And the devil said, all right, take this magical drinking glass. It looks awful, don't worry about it. It comes from hell. Hold it up to the front of the bed and look through it. If you can see the devil standing there, the person will live. If you hold it up to the foot of the bed and you look through it and you can see the devil, the person's going to die. There's nothing you can do for him. And so Jack tried that. He had scientific man, he held the drinking glass up, and there was the devil at the foot of the bed, not the head, and he knew the daughter was going to die. Now, she looked like a nice girl, and he thought, well, she might be good to marry, but to do that, I have to do something about death, because she's going to die, so here's my sack, get in it. And death got in the sack. And naturally, death doesn't like small enclosed spaces, because there's the whole earth to roam around. And death protested very much being in the sack, but Jack took him over to the tree where he bound the devil. And he tied the sack to the tree branches. And, of course, from that point on, he traveled around a good bit. But no one could die. Well, he traveled around because death was in the sack. And at first they enjoyed it. They thought it was the greatest thing. If you got sick, you got well. If you got hurt, you recovered. It was wonderful. Then they watched all the TV that had ever been made, and they listened to all the radio that had ever been done, and they got old, and their joints got hurt. And they got bored because they were so old, they didn't want to go on making television and radio. And they came to Jack, the townspeople, half the people on earth came to Jack, and they said, Jack, you got to do something. You got to untie that devil. He's over there in the tree. You have to untie him. We can't do it because it's a magical contract thing. You're the one who put him up there, so untie him. And Jack said, I would love to, but you must understand, before I untie him, I have to go see if I have a place somewhere to go when I die. I'm not willing to untie him until that's the case. So he traveled down to hell. Now, traveling down to hell takes a long time because there's really no elevator there. And he traveled all the way down to hell. Hell looks like a speakeasy. It's got a big door like this. It's got the speakeasy window you can slide open. And he knocked, and the door slid open, and there was the devil. And the devil said, Jack, what are you doing here? And Jack said, well, I like to gamble. I like to drink. I thought you might have a place for me. And the devil said, well, you might be right, but we don't deal in living souls, and you don't happen to be dead, so you got to go home and die first. And Jack said, but you must find a place for me. And the devil said, well, I can't. And behind him, the little devil said, you can't let him in. He put us all in a sack and beat us about with a sledgehammer. We don't want him. Throw him back. So the big devil said, all right. And Jack said, but the path up to earth, it takes so long. Can you give me something to light my way? And the devil said, well, I don't have much, but I do have this coal. And he threw the coal out. And he threw out a rutabaga. And he said, make of that what you will. So Jack took the coal, and he took up the rutabaga, and he took out his pocket knife, and he trimmed the rutabaga so as he had a lantern. And he took the lantern up in one arm, and he set up to heaven, which took even longer because there's no elevator to heaven either, and he had to pass the earth to get there. And he got all the way up to heaven, and he met St. Peter. Now he said, St. Peter, I want to get to heaven. What do I need to do? You know, and St. Peter said, hello, Jack, I understand you gamble and you drink, and and that'd be all right, but you gamble and you drink with devils, and you not only that, but you tied up death in a sack, which is messing with our bookkeeping. This can't be, Jack. We can't let you into heaven. And Jack said, oh, well, I'm terribly sorry to hear that. And he took off his jacket. And he said, I just want to see what heaven looks like inside. Can you open the pearly gates for me? And St. Peter opened the pearly gates for him, and he took his jacket, and he slung it in through the door. And then he went and sat on it. And he said, now I'm on my jacket. I have squatter's rights. You can't remove me from something that's mine. I'll just sit in heaven forever on my jacket. And St. Peter looked at him, and he said, well, what can I do? You know, but Jack didn't really know heaven, and a bunch of angels got him by his shoulders in the seat of his pants and slung him out the door. So there he was. So he took up his lantern, and he went back down to earth. And there wasn't anything to it, but he had to untie death in the sack. So he got up, and he was very old, and it took him a long time to get those knots undone, but he untied death. And some people say that he's the first person that death got once he was untied. And some people say that he's out wandering around yet with a rutabaga, lit up and down between earth and heaven and hell, waiting on somebody to let him in. So if you ever happen to die, don't annoy heaven and hell at the same time, or we'll be remembering you like we remember Jack, who's Jack of the Lantern. We remember every Halloween when you light up a pumpkin. And that's the soldier in death.
Yeah.